Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about Adobe Premiere Pro 2020, and it's a quick tutorial just to get you started, show you how to open the program and how to set up a project to start with. And I won't go into too much depth, just to get you started at least, and then we can talk about more advanced editing in the next tutorial. Okay, so I'm working on a Macintosh, so everything will be associated with that. The only difference with a Windows is that things are put in different places, but the actual program works the same, so don't worry too much. So in a Mac, go into Applications, should have your Adobe suite here, and I double click, and it usually takes a little bit of time to load up, but I've loaded it up previously, so hopefully it doesn't take up too much time. You can see it start thinking about loading up at the moment, so let's see how we go. Alright, it's loading up, but yeah, it's a big program. It's about 4 gigs, as you can see, so there's lots going on. Very powerful program. You can do lots with it, and that's why it probably takes a bit of time to load up. So while we load up, okay, it's already up. So I'm going to work on a project that I'm doing for a private client called Oakey Bay. It's a development project. And so while we're here, we may as well get a new project started. So new project, this new program, let's call it Oakey Bay tutorial. Okay, then you need to find a house for it. So browse on here. Make sure you always save your equipment or your project folders exactly where you want. So I've got a few hard drives here. So this one here, Chris Mac 2, Oakey Bay. You can see that I've already got a folder with lots of information here. So what I'm going to do is put a new folder in here and call it Adobe Project File. Okay, because what's going to happen is the Adobe program is going to put a project file in this folder, so that every time I want to come and open this again, all I go to is my hard drive, which is Chris Mac 2 in the Oakey Bay folder, and the Adobe Project folder file, and then that project file will allow me to open up the project and start exactly where I last saved. So I go OK, and it'll open up the project for us. Now, so this is how it opens up for you, ready to go. And I changed it a little bit, but just for the benefit of this tutorial, I'll just leave it as is, and I'll show you how to change these windows around. But basically, each window that you want to work in is highlighted by this blue line outside of the frame. So in this here, this is our project file window. So you know, you've got the media browser, you've got the files and everything, a few things that you don't need to worry about too much. So just have it on the project there, okay? Now this here is your preview window. When you open files up, they pop up here first, and then you can edit them or at least cut them here and drop them into the sequence here. So this is in this timeline here. That is where you create sequences. So sequences are just where you put your files to create a sequence of events, to create a story or a narrative in your project. And then when you play your sequences, they show up on this program so you can see how it's going. Now I'm going to import some media, but just before we go there, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to import. So if I go to my drive here, if I go to Oakey Bay, so that's the new file that opened up. So you'll see that it's got a little Premiere Pro project file here, okay? So that's the main file that always controls everything that goes in there. So that's the main thing you need to do. So secondly, I've got some drone images, and they were shot in 4K, which is huge files. So they were in the 101 media, and they're really, really big files, okay? So as you can see, 1 gig for, you know, how long is that? Let's have a look. For only 1 minute. That's huge, okay? So what I've done, and it's very hard to work in 4K, so I'd only work in 4K if the client wants it exported, or if they want to master file in 4K. Alright, so most things go in HD. So what I've done is I have exported these into 1080p drone footage. Okay, and the way I do that, just so it's easy for you, it's just so you know, I double click it, the file opens in QuickTime Player, I'll go File, Export As, 1080p. Okay, I don't want it in 4K, it's already in 4K. And what that means is 1080p is there's 10 1080 pixels on the top here, and oh sorry, I take that back. There's 1080 pixels down the vertical line of this video frame. Okay, and across the top it's 1980 along the top. Now 4K should be 4000 along the top, or close to. Okay, so you don't really want that unless your client wants that, and that's the future, but at the moment we still want to edit in HD. So I'm editing in HD because the computer likes it more, and our output's not going to be any higher than that anyway. Alright, so I've got my drone footage and I've got some images that have been sent by my photographer, so I'm going to bring those in as well. And we've got some rendered images of some files, and I've got standard resolution and high resolution, and I'll bring them both in, but again the same sort of thing. One's almost 4K and one's HD, and I'm probably going to use the standard res files just for this project. Alright, you can do it in 4K, but unless you've got a very fast computer it's going to struggle. Alright, so how do we import those in here? So to import the media, we just go File, Import. Okay, and let's go to my hard drive, go to Oakey Bay. Let's bring in the 1080 Pro drone stuff, so let's import that, because that's going to be our main files, and I'll show why that's important. So it comes up here. You can have it as a list view or an icon view. I like list view so I can read what's going on, and then I can click on through like that, which is really good. Alright, so then let's go to File, Import, go back one. So let's go back to our little file here, Oakey Bay. So I also want the images for Chris, so let's import those. Some of them don't work because maybe they've been shot in a file that is not recognized by Adobe Premiere Pro. So that's okay, just go okay. So I should get some files in there. Let's have a look. Oakey Bay Development. To double click it. Let's see if they work. Come on, there we go. So it pops up in that window. Yep, so that's fine. So I've got plenty of footage there. Now let's put that down. Let's go again, File, Import. I want my rendered images, so let's go back again, Oakey Bay. I want the rendered images that my client sent me, so import. Okay, there's a couple that don't work and they're zip files, but that's okay. And I've got some music as well, so I picked some music from just to put on the file, so import. Go back to our Oakey Bay. All these are music files that I'm going to choose, so I might grab them all. Okay, so Shift, click, import, so all the music comes in. Now the music is from Ben Sound, and I've got an account with them, so I can choose the music, and they give you options on short, medium or long, and you can play around with that anyway. Alright, so now we have everything we need to start editing. The main thing to do now is work out exactly what we're going to do with this sequence. Okay, so the way, see how it says no sequence here? The way you can set the sequence is you can go File, New, Sequence, and then it gets a little bit complicated where it'll ask you how you want to do it, and it gets a little bit difficult. Now if you shoot on a digital SLR and it's 25 frames per second, 24 or 30, that's no problem. But if you're not really sure, that's okay, don't do it this way. But just to show you, 1080p is what I usually shoot, and I usually shoot in 25 frames per second, so that's how it would be for me, and I'd go okay and bring it in. But if you're not sure, whatever you put in here first will be the dominant frame rate that the sequence will work on, okay? And that's very important because you don't want it to be this picture, okay? You want it to be the drone footage at least. So what I would do is I would just bring in a drone. So you can do two things, okay? You can double click it, double click, and it comes up in the preview window, okay? And you can just have a little play. You can see it works nice, really nice footage, okay? And so what I would do, just to start, it says drop media here to create a sequence. So I'll just click on that and drag it in here. You can see the little hand that pops up. just drop it in there, and it'll automatically set that sequence for you at the correct frame rate for that footage. All right. Now that's really important because you want to work in the optimum frame rate and file size for everything else. Now, the reason it's small there is because this little thing here is telling me it's only at 10%. So let's go to fit, and it'll fit in there. Okay. Now, as I said before, this is where all your content is. This is your preview window, so it shows you what content you've got. Then what you can do here, you can edit stuff. So now that we've got our sequence, we could even get rid of this if we wanted to. It's no problem. But now it's already set. This sequence here has been set to this DJI 180. And it's also set, so if you see this little green thing here, it's got DJI 180. So let's call this 1080p sequence. So we know it's a 1080p sequence, okay? And that's what we're working on. Usually, the other thing I do is I call this first draft. So let's put it there. So first draft, okay, and you'll see that'll change as soon as I save that. First draft 1080p sequence, okay? So now we know what we're going to work on. So the next thing is we're going to get into editing because we've set everything up. So what we do is we double click on these things here. They'll pop up in our preview window. Now what we need to do is work out what clips we want to drop into our file here. So say we just want, you can scrub along by just clicking on this little scrubber. Now we're going to use 3-point editing, okay? So this is a technique that I learnt over 20 years ago, and this is the way editing should be. So 3-point editing is by picking 2 points here, which will be the in point and the out point, and the in point's where you want the footage to start, and it's done by these things here, mark in, so you can just click on there and see how it goes grey, or you could just press the I on your keyboard, okay? Then you can just press the play button to see where you want to go. So if you've got a nice smooth motion here, okay, say I want to stop it there, or let's stop it there, okay, so that'll be my out point. So I want footage from there to there. Now I'll just click this mark out or out point, and then I can do two things. I can just drag it into here by just clicking and dragging, and you'll see that, and just put it wherever you want. Now we can see, now whatever happens here is shown up here. So this is the final output window, okay? And what you do is just grab that little bar on the top there with your little pointer, and you can just scrub along wherever you want, okay? So if I press play, so you can press the play key there, or you press your space bar on your keyboard. So just press it. It shows you've got beautiful footage there. Okay, great. So that's our first clip. Now, the other way you can do it is use these insert and overwrite options. Okay, and we'll do one of those in a second. And so 3-point editing is first point, second point, and the third point will be here. So let's do a proper 3-point edit now. Actually, I'll just move this up a little bit. All right, we'll just leave it there for a second. I'll rearrange it in a second. Okay, so say we want to add a clip onto the end here. So we drag this pointer here to right on the last clip there, and we'll give this an in point, okay? So the same thing, because this sequence works with this program, same thing, we can go mark in, and you'll see that it'll go grey. Okay, see how it's gone grey. So we've marked this as our in point. So we want to make sure that whatever we do here, our in point will be here. Okay, so let's go and find another pic. I know there was a nice sunrise we shot there somewhere, so let's double click that. Let's have a look around for it. Is that it there? No. Hey, there I am on the day. All right, let's double click again. Okay, so a nice sun shot with a filter on it. Okay, and we're just going to drop that clip straight down to there. Okay, so let's play that and see how it goes. You can press the play key there, or your space bar. I'm going to press the space bar. Okay, and I can see a bit of movement, so I'm just going to toggle it back. Now you can toggle things this way. You can go step back one frame. Just by clicking it'll go back frames, or you can just use the arrow key on your keyboard. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to where there's no movement. Okay, now I'm going to make that my in point. So I'm going to press I, or you can use the mark in point again. All right, and I'm going to press the play bar so I can go to the final shot that I want to have. So let's go through. Okay, when the footage stops, about there. Okay, just give it a couple of seconds and stop. Okay, so that'll be my out point. So I can do two things again. I can either use the mark out key there or press O on my keyboard. Okay, so click it. So I know that. So I've got 3-point editing. We've got 1 point there, the second point there, and the third point there. Now, because I've set this up like this, and this becomes important when you've got much bigger programs. And trust me, I made an hour documentary, and the amount of footage that was there, you need to manage it properly. So this is where this comes down. So you can either insert the footage or overwrite the footage. So if you're inserting it, it'll push everything forward. If you overwrite it, it'll drop it down without affecting anything in front of it. So for this one, we can just insert it because there's nothing there and it won't affect it. So if I click on this, that'll drop into there and give me a little bit of a sequence. So insert, and I click it, and there we go. Okay. So if I just grab that little toolbar again, I can just play it, and I just press the space bar, or you can press the play key there, and it will show me the connection between the two. So I'll just press this. I just press the space bar. You can see that it's happening. Okay, and then the next shot will click in. But that looks like a bit of a an opening shot. So what should I do there? Okay. So I can stop that. That's a bit of an opening shot. So I can rearrange these around so quite easily by just clicking that one there, moving it up and across. It doesn't really matter. Clicking on that one, moving it across, bringing this one back down, dragging that across, and just, it's all snapping, okay? It's all snapping in. Now if you don't want snapping, you just press the S key and it'll stop your snapping, but I like snapping because it snaps everything into place. Now we'll see that we've actually got our opening shot as the sunset, going into a lovely shot of the marina. Okay, so they're our first shots, and then it goes into the shot of the marina. Now we can do some fades, we can adjust the shots. So the next thing I want to just let you know is that I actually like lots of workspace, and I like everything to be big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce this a little bit by just grabbing this little thing. If you hover over the join between the two, you can just drag it across and do the same over here. So you don't need that very big. So I've got more working space here, okay? Now the other thing too is you can make these a little bit bigger by just hovering on this line here, clicking and going up. Just making it a little bit bigger, and you can do the same with the audio. So when we chuck the audio in, it'll do the same. We can see our waveframes. So just hover over that line, click on it, you'll see it goes grey, and then just drag down a little bit. Okay, so we've got two clips in here, we've adjusted things, so we're all going fine. Now, say if I wanted to drop in, so let's, just for the benefit of this, let's drop in a nice rendered image, okay? So we're going to use our standard resolution ones, and now you can just double click on these and see which ones you want. Okay, so there's a nice rendered image. So let's drop that on, say, there, and we'll pretend that we want to drop it in somewhere. It doesn't really matter where. So we can do two things again. We can picture where, we can move it to exactly where we want it is, where we want that picture to land. Give it an in point, where we want it to finish. So let's just say we wanted to finish there. Give it an out point. And then we can just insert this whole picture in if we want, okay? We can override over the top. All right, now, I'll just show you another thing which is really important. So these little blue things tell you what video channel you're working on. Now you can have as many video channels as you want and as many audio channels as you want. But say we want to drop this on the next line above. Let's make this one a bit bigger, and we'll just hover over the top like we said before. Okay, so we want to drop that file in, and we want to insert it, but we don't want to put it over the top of this file. or just completely over the top because it'll get rid of some of that audio. We want to drop it on another video line on top. And there's a hierarchy here, so the ones on top are the ones that are shown. So let's go up here and just drag this V1 here, and we know now, see how it went grey? We know that that's where the footage is going to go. Okay? Now we don't want to insert this because it'll push everything forward. We want to overwrite. So we'll drop it in, and it's telling me to change the clip speed, ignore sequence out. So we'll ignore the sequence out. Okay. Alright, so it's a small file, and now it's dropped it on top, but it didn't go exactly to the in and out point that I wanted because maybe because it's only a still and not a video. Now, again, I like working closely in here, so we can grab these little sliders here, just click on it and just bring it in so we can see, you know, we're working on some closer stuff. Alright, we can see, so the other thing we can do now is we can have a look at the picture that's been dropped over the top. You can see it's a massive file, even though it's standard resolution, so it's bigger than the video file. So we'll fix that in a second, but let's drag it across so it covers that last bit of this video so we can see. And you'll notice there's a red line here, so that means it needs to be rendered, okay, to be able to view it properly. And the rendering process it just means that the computer can't process all the different video formats at once. Okay, so it won't play it very well. But what we can do is, with our pointer, we can just hover over the top of the end. See that little red sort of boxy arrow that popped up? Click on it, you'll see that it's selected, and just drag. Okay, now we notice there's a little black line there. We can just drag this one, just click on there and just drag it back so it snaps. Okay, now that file's on there. So if we click on here and just press play, we'll see that it goes across. Now it won't play this other bit very well, but we can still see what's going on. Okay, so I just stopped that. Now what we want to do is we want to make that fit the frame properly. Alright, so we can double click and now we can move this around. Okay, you can move it around if you double clicked it. But what we want to do is make it smaller, but because it's much bigger than this window, we're just going to make it a lot smaller. So let's go 25%. Alright, and you can see the ends of the video are really long. Okay, so it's a really big video, it's a really big sized picture. So just grab the corner and you'll see these little arrows pop up, click on them and just drag it in, and you'll see that it's starting to fit a little bit better now. Okay, so let's make it even smaller. Let's see how it fits. Alright, so it fits like that. Alright, let's go back to fit. Alright, now we can see that it comes over and we've got a video of a picture here. Now, that's just an example to show you if you can drop it over the top. Or you can just put this at the end there, just drag it at the end. You'll notice it comes through. Double click it again if you want. These things will pop up. You can just fill in the video frame if you want. Okay. Now we can move this picture around. We can get rid of the background and blend it in, but that's all advanced stuff. So this is just basically showing you how we're composing footage to put it into a sequence. So just drag it back and just click it through, and you can see that it just goes straight into that sequence there. Now I'll probably put a bit of movement in it, but that's an advanced tutorial for you. Alright, so now we've got a sunrise as an establishing shot, a bit of movement and a bit of a picture here. And I am going to superimpose some of these pictures into the frame here, but not for the benefit of this program. So now what about music? Alright, so let's drop some music in. So let's click these, let's close these down so we can see what we're doing. So we've got lots of different music here. The one I'm thinking of using is this Miami one, and if you can still open it up if you want to read what's going on. So they've got a long version, a medium version, and a short version. Again, you can just, and one's in a WAV file. You can see this one here is WAV, which is a WAV file, and the next one's an MP3. Okay, so one's smaller than the other. So, but we want to use good quality, so we may as well use the WAV file. So let's double click it up here so we can see what's going on and just play it. pretty cool track. Nice ambient sound. So we want it at the start. So let's go through here. We're going to start there. Let's click in point and say we want it to finish right on the end there. Out point. Okay, so we know now if we drag this in here, that's exactly what it'll drop in. Okay, and because it's a stereo, we'll listen to both of it. So we want to overwrite this because if we insert it, it'll push everything forward. We don't want to do that, so we'll just overwrite it and it should drop in right there. Just thinking about it. What's happened? Not sure what's happened. Okay, maybe I need to give this an in point. Now let's drop it in. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay. I'm not sure what happened, ladies and gentlemen. It should just drop in. What about if we change it? Aha. I haven't selected it. Alright. Let's go back. So just need to select the actual audio track. Okay, let's go to the end, output. So it should work now. See now I've selected A1. Please work. There we go. Okay, great. Alright, so the reason it didn't work, which was actually good that it happened, because then I can show you, if you haven't selected the clips, the point there, it won't drop in. Okay, now, let's go listen to it. Okay, so that pan's pretty slow, but we can speed that up and make it look really good. Again, that's an advanced trick. And what I'd normally do is so what we did was by moving this up and down, whoops, that's a solo. By moving this up and down, I've not only, see if you move it up again, you can't see a line across there. So I'll show you what I mean. If I bring that down again, you can see this little line here, so you can change the audio level. So at the moment you can see if you hover over the top, it's 0 dB. Sorry, just trying to hover over the top. It's not doing it for me now. Okay, so 0.1. Okay, you can drop it down. Like when I'm doing voiceovers, I drop it down to about minus 18 dB. But if there's no voiceover, I can just leave it at 0 dB and make it nice and loud for the client. And then what I do as well is I cut the footage to the music, and you can see all these WAV files jumping up and down according to the speed and tempo of the song. And that's where I usually cut things. So I'd cut things there, 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 just to make it feel like it's cutting to the music. Okay? And I'd speed all this up and do everything like that. But that's basically your first foray into editing. And what I'll do now is I'll just quickly show you how I'd export this. Now, I've only put 3 clips in there. You know, when I do an edit, they can fill this whole line up, like I said, hundreds of clips depending on how big your sequence is. But that's the main thing you want to do. You want to just learn how to drop shots in as a sequence. Then you can come back through and learn how to speed them up, slow them down, cut it to the music, superimpose things, move pictures. So there's lots of different options. You can also do lots of audio editing, but that's for another day. So that's the basics of editing, and I'll just show you how to export just in case that's all you want to do. So to export a video, you need to go to the end frame. Okay, just get your end frame. You can use your keys and like left and right keys, and then you just pick an out point or an O on your keyboard. And then this is already selecting everything there, but just for the sake of teaching you, go to the start and give it an in point. Okay, so now we know that we want to export what we've selected, all this grayed area. Go to File. Oh, and the other thing to do is just save everything all the time, because Adobe Premiere Pro doesn't save automatically. Or sorry, I take that back. It does have an autosave function, but then you have to go back and find the project file that's autosaved it. So just completely save everything every time you do something good. Alright, so I've saved it. I know that I've got an in point and an out point, and that's what I want to export. So I'll go File, Export, Media, click on that. and it will take me to the export settings. Now, you can just match everything in your sequence, which is, if you've done it properly to start with, it'll be really good. So it's H.264 format. If you click that, it's the same thing anyway. So it's exactly what's happening. Okay, it'll give you an output name. Okay, and it wants you to I'm not going to change any of these for you now, because you've set everything up properly, so you know that the setting will be 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p at 25 frames per second, and P just means progressive. Okay, it just means there's don't worry about it too much. It's not something you need to know about at the moment. All right, so you need to save it. So output name, I'd click on that. So the first draft 1080p sequence, you can see I've got an exported videos file, but that's for another client I worked on. So we need to go back and find Oakey Bay, go new folder and put exported videos. Okay, create, so we know everything's going in there, and we can call it first draft Oakey Bay. Let's call it tutorial so I don't get confused when I actually do the proper job. Save it and then export it. Okay, very quick. So it's done it, successfully exported. Now that's the best way to get the best footage on something that you've been working on. All right, let's have a quick look at it. Go to our Finder, go to my Chris Mac 2, go to Oakey Bay, exported videos. We can see first draft Oakey Bay, 36 megs, which is pretty small, but it's only small. Double click it, and here we go. Okay, so that's it. So it's all done. All right. I'll just quickly show you. If you want to, like, if you're not 100% sure what to do, this is just the default way I'd export it. If you hadn't set this up properly, just go File, Export Media, and this is basically if you're going to upload to YouTube. Come on, it's thinking about it. What's happened? File, Export Media. Here we go. So keep it at H.264. Now that's just a really good codec, okay? Go to preset and just go roll it down. You can either go to Vimeo, but I just go to YouTube, 1080p, full HD, okay? And it's almost the same setting as what we wanted, and just and again just change the output name and just call it 1080p YouTube, Oakey Bay, save and export. Okay, you can see that everything's the same. Now our height is 1080, our field order is progressive, which is the P, and our frame rate is 25, which is the Australian standard for TV. Export. Okay, and you'll get very, very similar results, although it's a bigger file size. So that's optimum for sending it to YouTube, because they have their own little algorithms that they like to work with. So the more you optimize it for them, the easier and the better quality it is when you get up there. Okay, so that is our first introduction to editing, setting up Adobe Premiere Pro. And just before we go, if I do shut this program down, I'll just go File, Save. Okay, if I just shut this down, okay, I know that if I go into, my hard drive, Oakey Bay, Premiere Pro autosave, it's already saved a whole lot there for me. But our project folder, our original one that we set up, will let me start working in exactly the same place. Now that'll only work if you've got everything in the one folder. Don't go bringing things in from everywhere else. It's got to come from the one folder because this project reads everything from this folder. Okay, so if I double click that, you'll see that it'll open up exactly the same as previously. All right. So again, it's just taking a bit of time to load up, but I just want to show you this so that you know how to go back and edit your video after you've saved it. You'll see that it'll open up exactly where I left off at my last save. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, it's got our 3 files, our audio, and our last little thing, so we can go back in and edit as we wanted to before. Alright, so that's our first foray into Adobe Premiere Pro, setting up a project, why we're setting up a project, how to do initial cuts, and how to export. Okay, thank you very much.